everybody. Welcome to another episode of What a Hell of a Way to Die. It's me and it's Nate. Nate, happy Ed Balls Day. It is the day, 10 years to the day when British MP Ed Balls tweeted Ed Balls, and we all just celebrate. It's like Rex Manning Day, and you really need to be a special kind of old and terminally online to understand any of this that I'm talking about. But that pretty much describes at least part of our audience. So happy Ed Balls Day and happy Rex Manning Day.
The only thing I can say is Ed Balls.
Ed Balls.
But the thing is, before I moved here, I would have thought that was like a uncannily, insanely British name. But honestly, I've seen so many weirder names than Ed Balls. Like, that one doesn't even register with me anymore. However, I will also say, in retrospect, although Ed Balls is a very funny tweet, to me, the like apotheosis, if you will, of that style of person who shouldn't be running their own social media account is Martha Stewart. And I don't know if you recall this. I'm not a fan of Martha Stewart. I don't really give a shit. I've never cared about anything she says, does, etc. Other than like it is kind of funny she went to prison. But she once tweeted a photo, like a blurry photo of a cow in a pasture, and I don't know what she would have intended to tweet, but she just tweeted L. And like that to me is, I've never seen a more perfectly boomer post. Like, you just should have your personal assistant handling this.
We do take, like, in the year of our Lord 2021, we do take Twitter for granted because we know what we're doing on it now. Like, we're on Twitter doing something specific. We're here and we know how to tweet the way that we want to tweet. But like once upon a time, it was the Wild West, man. People didn't know what the fuck they were doing. Some people would like actually microblog, like it was supposed to be a microblogging site. Some people would, post once every like couple of months and then, but only lurk. Like it was a very strange and new social media back then. So, and mistakes happen. Like sometimes you accidentally tweet your name. Like maybe he was searching. Maybe he was just like, what's going on? What does the world think of Ed Balls today? And,
so there's an insane British right-wing guy who's like a intellectual dark web. The woke mob is baying for justice kind of shit. Like your garden variety awful, inbred looking, blood the consistency of fucking tapioca, just awful British guy whose name is James Dellingpole. And one time he made the mistake of thinking that his Twitter feed or his own personal Twitter interface was Google image search. So he tweeted what he was intending to image search for. And so he just randomly tweeted, this is James Dellingpole with a following of like 100,000 people, just tweeted pictures of dogs having sex. And buddy, let me tell you, we will not let that man forget that ever. Not ever, not once, not ever. So yes, the Ed Balls tweet was funny, but that to me is one of the better examples.
See the Ed Balls tweet is something that's funny. It's a mistake. It's just something, and like it only works because his name is Ed Balls. If like I tweeted Francis Horton, it'd be like, oh, Francis fucked up a little bit on Twitter or something. But like, I mean, and even the fact that it's Ed, like if it was Edwardian Balls or something like that, that would be very British to me. But just to type Ed Balls and then to go with it and delete it and to never delete it.
Never delete it.
It's a beautiful, what we're saying is I hope that everybody got Ed Balls merchandise and got something for your loved ones for Ed Balls Day.
But I mean there's ones like that where you're always wondering like why is it that people don't delete them? Like there was the one years ago where they were trying to do some report about, I presume they were trying to construct a sentence about, Iran having been secretly enriching uranium. And there's like special reports indicate Iran has B. And it's just like, wait, Iran has a B? Like, what are they going to do with B? I don't know. And it's one of those things where it became a joke. And under normal circumstances, you'd think like, all right, just delete it and repost. But they don't. Like, it's out there in the world. They're like, yeah, fine, let's leave it. So, it invariably winds up getting put back into circulation months, years, practically decades at this point later. And
but at a certain point you can't delete it, like because if you do, like if you're a very public figure and you tweet something insane accidentally, like as long as it's not pictures of dogs having sex like that, I would delete obviously. But an Ed Balls tweet, if you delete that, then everybody's like, what happened? Why did you get rid of that tweet that we all loved and was great and wonderful. Like it's not even making fun of him. It's literally just his name.
No, and I mean, like, I've had instances where I've been similarly inept with technology, and so I recognize that, fate comes for all of us in some capacity. I one time had to handle the YouTube stream for Trash Future, and I had no idea what the fuck I was doing, and I just completely made a mess of it. I one time recently have been trying to configure Discord for Trash Future, and have made some mistakes that have allowed people privileges they shouldn't have had, and of course, them being naughty children have decided to abuse those discovered privileges. So
this is why our Discord has a guy I pay to do that.
Yeah, just manage it. Yeah, manage it for us. Yeah, of course. Yeah, shout out to our managers because I just am not. That's just not me. I don't live on Discord. I don't mess around with that stuff. Like I use it to do mass blast messages to tell people to look at stuff, and that's it. That's genuinely it. So it's kind of like IRC, but worse and way more anime. And it's just not for me. So, fate comes for us all. Eventually you will be the how do I open PDF guy with some weird future technology.
Right. Eventually it comes for all of us. Like I'm 38 years old. And like I understand various new social medias. I understand TikTok. I can do TikTok. I can, integrate myself into it, but also I'm of an age where it's just like I don't want to and I don't have to, and that's just not a thing that I have to be a part of. I don't need to be angry about it. I've still got a good 15 years before I start getting angry at kids being more about me not being a demographic that advertisers care about, and therefore nobody caters to me anymore. But for everything else though, I can at least try to keep up with what the kids are doing. I don't do it well. I make YouTube videos sometimes, but I don't do all the quick cuts and the weird things to make your brain explode. And
what up, YouTube? Yeah, I would rather cast myself into the fires of Mount Doom than talk like that. I'm sorry. There's no way. There's absolutely no way. And plus, why would anybody want to see that? On a good day, I look like I fell down the stairs. Come on.
It is I am finally after 5 years of podcasting, I am okay with the sound of my voice when I listen to it. So that took a long time, and then YouTube, having a camera pointed at me, and being like, okay, I don't look like absolute shit. This should be fine. And I mean, look, I read excerpts from zines from the 1840s, so I'm not exactly. I don't have to worry about it because it's only going to be seen by about 400 people, if that. So,
well, yeah, and I mean, there's, here's the thing, right? It's a niche product, it's niche content. People know what they're getting. There's literally a guy who does reviews of scotches and bourbons on YouTube, vlog reviews, and there was one where his wife or his girlfriend was leaving him in the background while he was reviewing. She's packing up her shit to leave, and he's doing a whiskey review on camera. So I assure you, whatever you do, it will not be as bad as that. I'm just not a big fan of getting in front of a camera. I'm not a big fan of having to make expressive gestures on camera to sell a product, etc. I'd rather very selectively edit things via the voice medium. So that's what I do, and then talk about whatever. Today we're going to talk about.
You need to dig deep and grab your Italian roots and do some.
I have no Italian
handshaking.
I have no Italian roots that I know of. I have absolutely none. I mean, in the sense that okay, maybe everyone's a little bit Italian. It's the cradle of civilization.
Nate, are you telling me there's not a lot of Jewish ginger Italians?
That's the thing. There were and there are many Jewish Italians. There are also many Jewish redheads. There are also many Italian redheads. It's possible, but I don't find myself gravitating towards the various sort of hand gestures and I was gonna say expensive coffee, but fuck, guilty as charged. So
Do you have a little motor scooter? Are you preparing to upgrade from an actual bike to a little Vespa?
No, I will not be doing that. I absolutely will not ride around on a Vespa. That's just not going to happen. I think I would rather drive a smart car than ride a Vespa. I'm sorry, and I would never buy a smart car.
I'm sorry. We got a lot of motor scooters in my neighborhood, and they are all driven by people who are on their way to buy heroin. So you can be cool, and on a Vespa. We have 2 houses down. We call it the party house because there's always good times happening down there. But sometimes there'll be 2 or 3 little scooters parked out front. Just people scooting on over, drink in the backyard, do some carousing, and then scoot on home.
Being like a jaunty European on a motor scooter is very different than being a guy in the Midwest who drives a motor scooter because he's got a DUI and lost his license. Like, let's be honest. Like, that's what urban cycling and scooter riding in the Midwest is about. It's like, I can't legally drive, so I have to go to work in this fucked up bicycle, like this fucked up Huffy that's built for like an 11-year-old that's the only thing I get my hands on, or a motor scooter that's like sort of gray market semi-legal. It's just a very different vibe. I respect that vibe. I respect the like DUI guy who has to go to work and like haul his shit to work, so he's got to like bring one of those weird bicycle chariot carts on the back. I mean, that I do respect that, but that's not necessarily the thing that I'm aspiring towards. You know what I mean?
I can understand that. Personally, I would love a little scooter to go pick up my heroin with, but I have an electric car, so I can just go. I can go do that. It is nice. Like the guy that I buy weed from has a very nice house that's not very far from me, and I jump into my electric car. I pay him. I shoot him some money online, and then drive on over. And he's very nice. He's very he's. I just love that I can buy drugs without it being weird and shady now. I'm very excited about this new generation of me being high, where I don't have to worry about like, I got to go pick up drugs. Is he going to ask me to play video games with him for 2 hours? I don't have that because my guys got better shit to do too. So
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Well, we're going to talk about a number of things today, but I wanted to give perhaps as an introduction, discuss what happens when you just get a little too wild, the kind of behavior that makes you into that Midwestern bicycle DUI guy. We have a story that we're going to talk about a little bit, but before we start, I want to just say that Francis is going to talk about this episode in detail with the Zoo crew, because I feel like it's better, in my opinion. You will have more information if you have 3 enlisted dudes talk about what happens when officers drink too much versus an enlisted dude and an officer. I feel like my inner defensive-ness is going to be like, oh, well, here and there, blah, blah, blah. We're not talking about the fact, like, y'all, I'm sure, have insane stories. So what we're going to talk about...
Let's be honest, too. Like, you are a very goody two-shoes soldier, and I was not as much, but way more goody two-shoes than Joe Kasabian ever was, so... That's who we need to get on.
I mean, I was goody two shoes in the sense of like, all right, yes and no. I was goody two shoes in the sense that I didn't do drugs, or like when they said you can't drink, I didn't drink. But like, I absolutely in my last couple of years was like, unless you fucking force me to be in this formation and like it's literally an counseling statement, I will not be there. And right. So that's normal. That's a different vibe. But
yeah, I'm talking about you never went to a strip club in Poland that was off limits and
yeah, I never. And you know what? I would have fucking gone to some amazing off limits places in Fayetteville. Every good rap show that came through Fayetteville played at a club that you weren't allowed to go to if you were assigned to Fort Bragg. So you know what? Like, I get it. Sometimes those off limits places on the blacklist are just too good. But yes, in this story, we found on Task and Purpose, the headline is, an Army major was allegedly drugged and bitten by strippers during a drunken escapade in Poland. Now, for those of you not aware, the Army and the Department of Defense are doing a bunch of rotations to different parts of European command. That includes, I know lots of folks who have been spending time in Poland, in Romania, in Kosovo, in the various Baltic states. That has become a more common thing. So in this case, a guy was part of a 9-month rotation to Poland, and he was a major. He was I believe he's a UH-60 pilot, a Black Hawk pilot. But he's an aviation officer. Went missing in Gdansk, Poland, formerly known as Danzig, now known as Gdansk. Went to an off-limit strip club. Got blackout. Got bitten by a stripper. Lord only knows. Apparently, he spent $13,000 in the strip club. Now, this is rookie shit. I'm sorry.
Right, like let's be fair. If you're, I mean, this is a major, I believe.
Yes.
Who is the XO? So a major. The story doesn't mention if he has a wife and kid that are going to be spending any of his money, but like, yeah, $13,000. That's what a major would blow at a unauthorized off limit strip club. I feel that feels like a good number.
Apparently the 15/6 report says that he spent thousands of dollars in, and this is a quote, alleged sex dungeon. You know what? Here's the thing. Well, apparently he's retiring. He got a Gomar. He's getting out of the army. He fucked his career. And it's like, whatever. I respect that if you're going to go out, you're going to go out because you got your nipples bitten. The strippers were biting your nipples to keep you awake so they could keep running your credit card at a sex dungeon in Gdansk, Poland. I do respect that a lot. However, I just, it's one of those situations where anyone who's ever been overseas, this will happen. Like, when I was in Korea, I cannot tell you how many times I heard stories like, oh yeah, this new unit's coming in. They went out to the Ville. They're like, EXO got a blackout and punched a dude in the face, like punched one of his fellow officers in the face. Like, this happens. Like, I don't know what it is that people who could normally like keep their wits about them when it comes to alcohol and being out in places, they go overseas and all of a sudden they're just like, no, I am absolutely going to get blood alcohol poisoning. I'm going to kill myself and I'm going to punch some people.
It's the uniform, man. Like, I noticed that I was a perfectly normal human being until I had to be on, and not drill weekends, but if I had to be on active duty, if I was doing a 2 or 3 week rotation for annual training or something. And like, as soon as I put the uniform on, the first things I want to do is like, I want to eat junk food. I want to smoke cigarettes. I want to drink booze, and I want to have sex with questionable people. Like, that's immediate. Like the uniform put me into like 21-year-old E4 mentality immediately. So maybe it's that. Maybe it's just they were feeling themselves. Maybe it's they were in the city of Danzig and they were very excited because they thought Danzig might actually be there.
Oh, Glenn Danzig. Well, Glenn Danzig would absolutely support you getting your nipples bitten in a sex dungeon in Poland. That is 100% true. That being said, though, like, look, anyone who's been around officers knows that this sort of thing has happened and will happen. I'm not going to pretend that's not the case. However, I don't know how much there is to say about it in the sense that it's really funny. And the internet allows us to know these things that would be like, this would otherwise just be, in the olden days, like apocryphal shit, someone would be like, oh my God, dude, I heard this rumor from like this other unit I was in, like, yeah, this major, he like got like they were just running his card and biting his nipples and shit. Like, that would absolutely be a story that someone would tell each other. Folks would tell each other like on FTX, or like new guy in the company would show up and be like, oh yeah, this crazy shit happened at my old unit, that kind of a thing. But now we can all partake in it. We can all learn about how a dude exploded his career by just getting too on the sauce in Eastern Europe.
I think one of my favorites was seeing somebody who was mad that everybody was laughing at the story because the army major was a victim. And yes, and look, we don't condone blaming the victim, but when you go to an off-limits sex dungeon, I'm just going to say that it's kind of on you on that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, like you said, you don't want to blame the victim in a situation, but like they have gone out of their way to be like, listen, you will be legally punished if you go to this place because we have determined that it is so dangerous to service members and their practices are so shady that we cannot be responsible for what happens to you there. And as such, we will punish you for going. And
what? You know what's going to happen, Nate? More people are going to go. This is just like the Fort Hood, Fort Bragg horny posting at the E-Girl. Like, this is, and then everybody started subscribing to the E-Girl. This is the same. Everybody's going to be like, wait, there's a place in Danzig that I can get my nipples bitten to stay awake. That sounds way better than doing meth like I normally do.
Yeah, man. Well, it's one of those things where for me, I really wish I'd gotten to see Walk a Flock of Flame perform live in Fayetteville, North Carolina, but it was on the blacklist. And let's just say the MPs would not have had a very difficult time figuring out that this random redheaded dude with short hair who is white at this club is probably in the army.
With short cropped hair.
Short cropped hair, no neck or face tattoos. Yeah, probably in the army. So yeah, like it's that is a thing that you at a certain point. Also, like, it's hard to have a ton of sympathy when someone's a field grade because like they have gone through the hoops so many times. You know what I mean?
You should know better.
Absolutely, you should know better.
Like when I joined the army at the age of 17, you have this like expectation that like, all right, I'm going to be the people in the army are going to mold me until I can be one of the leaders of the military too, and I can trust them and I can do all. But you can't. Like this major decided to do something incredibly stupid and funny, but like he could have died. Like those prostitutes could have just decided, we ran his credit card till it stopped. Let's go ahead and dump him into a river because he's like so drugged up, nobody's ever going to find him.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you don't want to like you don't know whether or not Big Pavel is having a good day or a bad day, and whether or not he's going to just chuck you into the Baltic Sea.
Right. I mean, so it's dangerous, and I'm glad that the major is alive. And I think that he's got a really funny story for the rest of his life. Unfortunately, it completely fucked his career, as it should. I mean, you know, we're not. I'm certainly not going to sit here and say that the army shouldn't punish this kind of this kind of behavior because, again, you got your nipples bitten. And look, we all at some point in time are in the army, have information that we shouldn't be giving out to other people, right? Like even for official use only, not necessary secret or top secret, but not something that you go spouting around. Who knows what this man said while under the influence of nipple biting?
He probably just, I mean, you're right. Maybe he divulged state secrets. Maybe he divulged like how, you know, crypto works for comms downrange. But I'm going to guess based on my own experience of spending a lot of money in a strip club that he was probably saying something to the effect of, I fucking love cocaine. Who has cocaine? That's probably what he was saying. All things considered, I did not yell this, but numerous times in strip clubs in South Carolina when I was there with friends on 4 days, like we'd wind up with like at the end of the night closing the place out and like random old dudes would be like, yo man, let's buy an 8-ball or something like that. And we just like, what the fuck? Yeah, I know. Just something between being an army officer and being from the Midwest, like it never ceases to just sort of confuse me when people talk about doing it, you know, like openly, because it's just not part of the world that I recall, you know, that I got used to.
Cocaine has always been like the scary drug to me, like because it's, you know, you do cocaine and then you go crazy, right? Like I'm so like as a Midwesterner, I'm so steeped in the proper anti-drug propaganda.
Yeah,
like,
I know, right?
It took me, I mean, look, I got out of the army. Well, I started smoking weed again while I was still in the army, but it was a pandemic, so nobody was making me piss in a cup. But like, it took
it all comes out now. France is divulging it.
I don't give a shit. What do they get? Oh, I'll tell you, man, they're texting me now because they're like, hey, there's this serial number on the print kit, which is like the kit that has like camera lenses, laptop and everything. They're like, we don't have any paperwork for this. I'm like, well, obviously it's a made up serial number because it's the unit name 00-1. So no, I don't have any paperwork. They're like, well, we have to start a flipple. I'm like, my name's not on it, right? All right, I don't give a shit. Do whatever you want. I don't have paperwork for it, but you have a print kit, so fuck off. No.
Do you even have a hand receipt in your unit, like a PBU's hand receipt?
You know, I really what I do need to do is go through all of the stuff.
I don't mean like a 2062. I mean like one that's generated from the unit, like the one you have to sign every month, that kind of a thing.
Oh no, God no.
Well then,
no,
yeah,
I'm a reservist, man. We don't do that shit.
So for our civilian listeners, army property is a thing that we could talk. Like it would be a really boring episode, although we all have really funny stories about illegal shit people do to get around the army property system. But
it's fascinating. It's very boring. Oh my God, but very
dude! My old supply sergeant had some stories. He told me one time that he was trying to hook up his company commander for a change of command ceremony, and the commander on the hand receipt like had a couple of tow bars for like these are fixed bars you use to tow Humvees with. You can also use them to tow heavier vehicles like LMTVs and stuff. And so like instead of it being like a tow rope, it's because obviously like a tow rope is going to snap, and also like there's so much weight on one of those things. You use a tow bar, which is like a fixed thing to pull these vehicles with. And the commander had like 8 or something like that on the hand receipt. And they only had 4 on hand. And it was the morning of the change of command, or like the change of command inventory for whatever sub hand receipt contained those tow bars. So my supply sergeant was like, he went and he checked in with the commander at PT. And the commander's like, are we going to be okay? He's like, yeah, sir, no worries. I'm going to run out, handle some shit with my guys. Like, we won't be at PT. He's like, yeah, that's fine. And then like he went out, and their PT was him and his guys smashing these tow bars with sledgehammers, because if you broke them into pieces, then the individual components could count as broken parts to multiple ones instead of 4 intact ones. And so, yeah, he made 8 tow bars by breaking 4 of them in half. It's just like, I love Army property. We definitely deserve $800 billion a year. I think it's a really good thing that kids don't have erasers on their pencils in public schools.
Yeah, the Army property book that I heard was some guys digging a motor pool somewhere out in Afghanistan, well into the occupation, and hitting something, and they're like, what's this? And they start digging around, and they find like a shipping container buried. And so they dig it up, and they crack it open, and it's filled with M249s, the machine guns.
Yeah.
But there's no paperwork for it. So what ended up happening, they're like, we have all these rifles, but we don't have paperwork for them. And probably some command staff was just like, fucking bury them. We're trying to get the fuck out of here. And so these guys found it, and they're like, well, what do you want to do? And the commander's like, fucking bury it. We're trying to get the fuck out of here. Who gives a shit? There's no paperwork for it. So supposedly, by rumor, somewhere there's a Connex full of fully automatic squad assault weapons somewhere buried in Afghanistan. Have fun with that. Yeah. You know what? That's better than a landmine, I'm going to say.
We when we showed up, we had the unit that replaced us had filled in for the Polish army. Like, they had swapped out with the Polish army midway through their deployment. So they had to move all their CPs and everything like that. And, there's the whole concept of theater purchased equipment, like equipment that stays on your hand receipt in theater that you sign over. So for a simple explanation for civilian listeners is, instead of units coming over and having to, use cargo ships to move over all their heavy gear and stuff, there's a lot of stuff that just stays in Afghanistan and gets passed down from person to person. Moving heavy shit in to Iraq is obviously easier because you have a deepwater port at Qasr, and then you also have the port of Kuwait. So it's very easy to bring heavy amounts of shit into Iraq. Not so in Afghanistan, where you can railhead stuff through Europe and through Russia and then through Central Asia, but you can't ship sensitive items that way. Or you can ship it to the port of Karachi on boats, and then it can be moved in a truck convoy from Karachi through the Khyber Pass or through Torkham Gate to Afghanistan, and stuff gets blown up all the time and stolen and pilfered and so on and so forth. Or you can strategic air stuff. Really sensitive items get loaded onto smaller containers and put inside cargo aircraft and flown, but there's a very limited amount of weight you can do with that. You can't really do, there's like not a lot of stuff at the unit level that you can move that way. Like, you can move I remember when we went, like, every company got a Tricon container. So 3 of these containers makes a 20-foot container. Every company got a single Tricon they could fill for Strat Air to fly to Afghanistan. So, like, it's not a lot of stuff. So the point being here that a lot of gear gets handed down, and it's not always in the greatest of shape, and a lot of stuff gets lost, and there's sort of emergency or contingency stuff in place to, like, write it off the books if it's damaged or needs to get shipped to, like, Redstone Arsenal or someplace to get serviced or whatever. And so once something has been officially written off the books, it's been solved. And so, like, there is so much witchcraft that supply people who know what they're doing can do, because all it really needs is a plausible explanation and a signature, and you can make stuff disappear. So you find so much stuff because the unit doesn't care. It's off their books. They don't give a fuck. Like, it doesn't belong to them anymore. No one's asking them any questions. They don't give a fuck about the physical object anymore. So the unit that we replaced, the guy, one of the companies, the guy was like, yeah, I've got 4 120 millimeter mortar tubes that are off the books. And my friend who was the XO was like, okay, why do you have them off the books? And the guy was like, oh, I traded an ASV for them, which is a whole vehicle. He's like, why did you do this? Oh, the ASV, we wrote it off. We stripped it for parts and we wrote it off as combat loss. And I was just like, what the fuck is going on with you guys? So yeah, like, just that's why you don't have pencils. That's why people can't have healthcare, because of this shit.
Dude, combat loss is a great, we had somebody who combat lost something because they, and this was a training mission. We were not in, I think we were in California, and there was a little brush fire that happened. And so one of my photographers was out there, and she had her camera and a couple of extra lenses. And one of the lenses was like in a little sling pouch that she had put down to take photos. And then, like, all of a sudden the wind changed for this brush fire, and like it was coming right at them. So she ran and left the lens there. And then so it's like, all right, well, it's an expensive lens, and it's not your fault. There's a brush fire. I'm sure it's destroyed by the thing. So we'll just put in the paperwork. And then, like, 3 days later, somebody's like, oh, hey, you guys left this out there. It's like, well, we already did the paperwork that said it's destroyed. So I guess this is ours now. Like it's and nobody questions it, but also
Nope.
you can't like go back and be like, oh hey, that thing that I put in for 3 days ago, I don't need that done anymore because it's already in the system. It's already on step 2, and
There's
once it's on,
no benefit to coming clean about that stuff.
right, there's no reason to like. I mean, you can, but the problem is that it takes too much to stop it. That it's just easier. Just like, look, fuck it, we'll just buy you a new lens, man. It's gonna like you got to keep the lens anyway because it's gonna take them 18 months to ship you a replacement, regardless if they ever do. But at least you are no longer financially liable for it. Man, I got Foot Lockers full of all kinds of shit that the Army's just like, we gave this to you, you signed for it, but we forgot about it, so we don't really care anymore. I got helmets, I got fucking body armor, I got all kinds of shit that just
I'm trying to remember what it was. I can't remember if it was a kind of optic or a kind of laser or something like that. But there was some piece of equipment that we got, and we had these cage rooms in like old warehouse buildings on Fort Richardson. And they were like the overflow supply room storage, like long-term storage for units that were assigned to the post. And I remember one of the cage rooms had, and these were all unaccounted for, like in the sense that they weren't accountable items. Like you didn't have to produce them. But some item, maybe it was like a ACOG optic, maybe it was a PEC 15 laser, maybe it was an M68 optic. I can't remember what it was. But every single one of them had a little Pelican case that had come with them, like a Pelican case that would be perfect size for like a digital camera and your cell phone and like your personal items and stuff. And we're talking hundreds of these fucking things in this cage room, and they weren't accountable. And it's like, on one hand, it's so fucking wasteful. I mean, think about how much money that is, and it's just absurd that we'd get those in the first place. But then like my other side kicked in, and I was just like, oh man, like, just like take these fucking things and sell them on eBay. You could easily get $100 a piece for these things, and there's like 150 in just this company's space alone. Like, come on, man, what are you doing?
I had a cousin who was National Guard infantry, I think either in Missouri or Kansas, and they did a deployment. And when they got back, he was kind of in charge of like they're like, okay, we have all this like gear that we don't need, so take it to the incinerator to have it destroyed. But it was all like sleep systems and Gerber, like the really nice Gerber multi-tools they give you and everything. So he's like they're just telling me to like load it up into a vehicle and take it to an incinerator. So I loaded it up in a vehicle and took it to a fucking resale shop and just sold them like by lot. Like, look, I have a car full of sleep systems. I'll give it to you for $1,000. There's probably about 40 of them in there. Sleep system is the sleeping bag. So it's
whole sleeping bag, like layered sleeping bags.
It's a sleeping bag in a sleeping bag with a weatherproof cover on it. So it's a whole, they don't call it a sleeping bag because there are multiple components to it, but they are fantastic.
Fuck me, man. I had to do a flipple on a fucking missing sleeping bag once as a second lieutenant because some kid had put his whole sleep system in the post system, like in Iraq, and it gotten lost. And like $70 sleeping system, like $70 this thing is worth, and they're like, now flip financial liability investigation of property loss. This is it's just a thing that nobody likes doing. But yeah, investigations when you lose property. I mean, I genuinely had to do like a whole report and file an investigation because of a missing sleeping bag. If your cousin or your buddy or whomever had that stuff, like, God, I would have loved to have been hooked up. There's a famous saying in the military, I'm sure they say it in other branches besides the Army, and that is that there's one thief in the Army and then everybody else is just trying to get their shit back.
Yep.
Like, it's always just endemic, constant stealing shit. I mean, I had to do a flipple on a kid who went AWOL and he had left all of his gear in the cage room of the company, and someone had cut the lock and just stolen all of it. And it's like they're sending this kid to prison for being AWOL, but also we had to do, like, they were making him pay back all the gear he lost. And it's sort of like, I wound up being like, look, he's the reason it's lost because he went AWOL, but also he didn't steal it himself. So like charge him half, and they accepted that. And that's basically Army leniency when an officer is investigating missing shit. Like, I'm dead serious, man.
We have a sliding scale of financial fault here, and I think we can kind of do a 50-50 on this one.
Yeah, well, 50-50 you on the fact that you went AWOL in 2006. We found you in 2011. Like, I'm dead serious. Dude, have been hiding out in Alaska for 5 years.
When I when I got back from Afghanistan in 2004, we went back through CIF. CIF is the people
Central Issue Facility.
Yeah, it's where you get all your gear basically. So you have to go through the irritation of turning all this gear back in, being told it's not clean enough. How dare you go to Afghanistan? Some fucking mustache grandpa is gonna yell at you, civilian dude who like was a first sergeant or a sergeant major, about like how your thing hasn't been cleaned well enough when you've cleaned it. The fucking meanest civilians
I've
ever come across.
Dickheads. God, fuck assholes. CIF. Like they get hired to be dicks to soldiers. I swear to God. I will say one time though, there was a civilian woman who was helping me like get my basic issue for my unit, and she was like, yeah, here's the poncho liner or whatever. I was like, oh hell yeah. And she's like, why do all of you always say that? And I was just like, because the poncho liner is the only thing that you're giving me today that I have positive memories associated with. Everything else is shit. Everything else, like that fucking thing ripped on a ruck march. That fucking thing got moldy on the inside. That fucking thing, like I ripped my fingernails out trying to get the Alice clips on the rucksack. But this is keeping me warm. It's toasty. It's soft. It reminds me of bedtime. Like it's the one thing I have a positive memory attached to.
Yeah. The whoopee is the only thing in the Army that you can unconditionally love. Like if you unconditionally love anything in the Army other than the poncho liner, the whoopee, whatever you want to call it.
The field jacket liner, the smoking jacket, that too.
Yeah, that too, because it's made of whoopee. I mean, it's
a whoopee vest. It's a whoopee shirt. Yeah, it rules. Oh God, I love those things. I still have one. I still wear one every now and again when I'm feeling really froggy in the wintertime. I'll be like, you know what? It's smoking jacket time. Just put that thing on. Up. Yeah, just walk around in that thing. And now, next thing you know, I want to be drinking coffee out of a canteen cup or something like that.
You're gonna start going around and start giving me orders that I can give to somebody else.
Yeah, delegate that shit. Staff sergeant. No, I don't. I've forgotten basically everything. The fact that I even remember what FLIPL stands for is perhaps an indication of how much of a pogue I was most of the time I was in my career. But also, like, it's kind of a miracle that I haven't forgotten all this stuff because I've been out longer than I was in.
A field grade is well versed with FLIPLs, I believe. Like
I was never a field grade to be fair, but a
company grade.
I was a senior company grade officer.
Well versed with FLIPLs, especially a captain, because at some point in time, somebody has lost some shit.
Yeah.
And you're just like, how did you not... the story I was going to tell, when I got back from Afghanistan, they were like, yeah, we can't release you because you brought everything back except for this wet weather bag, and you need to give us $38 for it. I'm like, you guys are seriously going to keep me here over $38? They're like, yeah, there's an ATM back at your barracks. Come back in tomorrow with it. And I literally had to go... No, I take it back. Somebody loaned me $40 at CIF to give them. I didn't get a receipt. I'm telling you this, like, I feel like somebody would just like, that cost $38. So give me $40 and this all goes away. Like, I feel like I was kind of rolled on that one, you know?
When I was getting out of the Army, I will tell you, and I'm sure you experienced this too, one of the best feelings you'll ever get as a soldier, if you are in the U.S. military, is when you're leaving and you get your final CIF hand receipt and it's empty. And it's just like, yes, I'm accountable to nothing. Nobody can tell me I have to give them shit. But I had some stuff that had been on my permanent CIF record for a long time because my first unit out of school was, technically speaking, an Arctic unit. So I got a bunch of stuff that like would transfer over and wouldn't be turned in. It was the correct way to phrase this was that when you got a permanent change of station, it went with you, but it would get turned in when you left the military, when you ETS'd. And so it was like, and I'm not joking, like black fleece overalls that would go under like Arctic gear and stuff. Cause if you're doing trooper stuff and having to be static in times in that kind of weather, like you have to have like a special canteen to keep water liquid. You have to have like, we had like over whites and stuff for our uniforms. We had these big mittens that we had to wear and stuff like that. And I legitimately, like when I was getting ready to get out of the Army, I was like, I don't think I have all this stuff because I traded one of my jackets for Australian poncho, which, no, dude, you can laugh all you want. Australian ponchos are the best piece of military equipment ever because they are ponchos that you don't wear. They're just a tarp, but they've got snap links on them so you can snap them together to make them into a tent if you want to. And they've got loops on the end so you can make them into tie down points for like putting tent pegs and bungee cords and stuff. And you never have to worry about twisting the stupid hood on the poncho and like looping it around and making the knot that's still going to let some water drip through in a rainstorm. You never have to worry about that. And it's super long too. You can fit 2 dudes underneath one. So like it's the best bit of kit I've ever had. I traded a guy like my stupid ACU like Equix jacket for it. So I just bought shit off eBay. And then I was like, Sergeant, my bad, size mismatch on my record. Yeah, sorry. And just handed it to them and they accepted it. So, I spent like $100 over the course of 9 months getting these pieces of kit used off eBay and shipped to like an APO address when I was in Korea. And then I was able to just hand them in. And it was all clear. So there are ways around the supply system. And I suppose we talked a bit about it to the point where it's almost an episode about the supply system. But I swear to God, we could get so many people on here who are listeners, who are veterans, to tell stories about dumb shit that the money that gets dumped into the Pentagon is actually going to. Like, y'all have heard mine so many times. I've total sieve for a brain, like proto dad mode. I realize I've forgotten a lot of them. I've forgotten that I've told you, but we got to get new ones out there because everyone's got a story about like, wait, you have an airplane that's off the books.
If you at any point in time had to give the Army money for something missing, either you fucked up or you have a supply sergeant who doesn't like you or is not good at their job.
Man.
Or
I almost got like Gomard for a missing radio, and I finally just, because me and the brigade supply guy or my battalion supply guy, like we had gotten along, but he got mad at me because he basically like didn't want me doing the paperwork stuff that I was supposed to, because he's like, that's NCO business. And finally I just called him. I'm like, look, man, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to fight with you. Like, I just want this shit to get solved one way or the other, like payment plan, whatever. Like I apologize. I know I've been kind of a dickhead. Like, can we just get this thing sorted so like it's not a problem? And he's like, don't worry, sir. I got you. And then he made it all disappear. He was just waiting for me to be like, you're smart. I'm an idiot. I'm an officer. You're an NCO. You're better at your job than I am. Can you help me?
That's all you have to do. Like all a supply NCO wants is for you to go, is for especially an officer to go up and be like, I need you. I'm in trouble and I need you. And for them to, so they can put their hand on your shoulder and say, I got you, sir. And you owe me. And because you do. Because when I got out and I had to turn all my stuff in and my supply sergeant printed everything out and we went through everything, I was like missing this. There's like probably about like $150, $200 worth of stuff that I'm missing. And she's just like, just put it in my office. It's fine. Don't worry about it. I was like, cool. I will not. I'm glad that you are here to take care of me. Because she's always been, Sergeant Fry, God bless her. She's always been really good at taking care of the shit that you are missing. So,
well, I don't know if he's out there, and I can't imagine he's listening. But Sergeant LeBoy, thank you for hooking me up. I appreciate you saving me with that stupid Syncars radio that was fucking fake paperwork that the last unit gave me, and then just completely screwed me over. I am very, very sorry that if I was ever annoying, and I'm sure I was, because I'm annoying now. Can you imagine me when I was 24 and had a Ranger tab? Like, come on.
But you understood being humble, and that's what matters. You're able to humble yourself in front of an NCO.
That's of an E7, yeah. Eventually, eventually, I got there.
It takes a little bit of time, and sometimes it's not even about being humbled. It's about knowing that who you have to prostrate yourself in front of to get what you need done. And everything in the Army, like everything that you see surface level, happens because of probably about 10 different drug deals on the back end that got you there. Like there's always something that is part like, oh, we did it. We got out here. We went, like one time we had field op. Nobody thought about, hey, what are we going to do about cleaning ourselves out there? We're a bunch of pogues. We like showers. We're not going to do the Ranger, the Ranger bath of baby wipes and everything, because we weren't planning for that, because we were told we would have showers. So what did we do? We would put people on a bus, we take them onto the cantonment area, and we found places that we were like, hey, we need showers. We're only going to be here like every third day or so. We're going to rotate people through. We're going to clean the bathrooms ourselves afterwards. Like we're here to take care of this. If you can please let us do this. And there were a lot of units that are like, yeah, man, if you want to come in to our barracks and shower and then clean our bathrooms for us so that we don't have to do it, perfect. And it was perfect, nice little drug deal there. Everybody's happy. Everybody shakes hands. I got to wash my ass, and I mean, I was an NCO. I didn't have to clean shit. So there's always privates. So you're just like, hey, you guys, fuck off and go over there and do that.
I mean, I agree. Yeah. It's all the thing that's hilarious. And I mean, I respect my supply sergeants for being honest with me about this, was that there's an extent to which you got to know things. And then there's a limit at which you do not want to know anymore, because you will learn that things can get solved, but the way they get solved is this guy who plays cards with that guy who's the civilian who's in charge with the property book. They hang out. This guy really likes this kind of thing that you can get from back. He likes this kind of candy from America. You got to hook him up, that kind of thing.
The entire point of the Army is that you don't ask too many questions about how the thing was accomplished. Now, this is also how we get war crimes.
I was going to say, that's how war crime brain happens, is that you're like, I just don't want to know. I don't want to know, because if I know, I've got problems. And the problem is that, like, if it's defrauding the Army of money and shit, like to solve an issue, that's one thing. If it's defrauding the Army because, like, you're, I don't know, invariably you hear these stories, the guy's like, sent his own shipping container home full of parts he's going to sell on eBay. That's a problem. And then if it's like, I don't need to know, because then I'll know that, like, my guy's murdered an entire village of people and made up a fake story, then it's a huge problem. So yeah, it's that same mentality all the way up and down of sort of like, there's always some kind of shady thing happening. And if you try to play straight and narrow, like, you'll always get fucked over.
So I guess what the moral of this is, feel free to steal from the Army, but don't murder people, which I think is the theme of all of our episodes.
Yeah, don't murder people, and don't get so greedy with your stealing from the Army. Don't get stars in your eyes about what you can accomplish that you leave an enormous paper trail. Or
take what you need. Just be a communist. Take what you need, not everything that you want. Don't get greedy. Take the things that you need.
If you discover, as I've told this story many a time, if you discover an unlocked NSN that you can order in theater to buy big screen TVs, just get one for your CP, one for your CP and maybe one for your command team office. So, like, they can use them as, like, the justifiable excuse here. Like, hey, we got these TVs. We're going to, do mission briefs on them and shit. Makes sense, right? Don't get a whole shipping container worth of them. Because it's kind of awkward when all of a sudden they're like, when they change their minds midway through the deployment and decide that you're only taking 2 20-foot containers home, and you have to suddenly get rid of a fucking 20-foot container full of TVs you were planning on bringing home and selling.
Well, I mean, the Army, they just light that shit on fire because they don't want to take it home.
That's
true. What you do. You bring it over. You hang one in the commander's office, and then hang one in the day room of whatever shitty little base you're on. You get whatever AFN stuff, and then when you're leaving, either you hand it back over or you toss it in a big pile and set it on fire. Like, those are. I mean, I would
hope that before you actually light the match to set it on fire, that some crafty Afghan base workers are like, "Don't worry, we'll burn this in a different dump," and they take it and sell it. Because, I mean, come on, like, that would be great. However, you and I know that you'd probably get in more trouble for letting Afghans take it than for, like, the theft in the first place.
Yep. We can't let the Afghans have something. I mean, let them have something nice. Get out of here. That's not what 20 years of war has brought you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's brought you heartache, misery, and probably a lot of cancer. But don't worry, it's brought that to the American soldiers too, I guess.
And that to me is why, like I said, I had to get out, because there are lots and lots of ways in which the system was funny, like darkly funny. But at the end of it all, like, yeah, it's just hugely wasteful, which is kind of a boring and sad way of ending this long discussion about Army supply. But, like, it does come back to that same issue, which is that, yeah, that's what $760 billion or however much it is this year is buying. A lot of it is buying dumb bullshit that doesn't work. And then it's getting defrauded, and it's just entire economies of scale all the way down of just fraud. And I mean, I love the fraud side. It makes me laugh. But obviously, when in America, we don't use the money printer and it's always a zero-sum game, and the military getting this much money means nobody could have anything besides cops' bullets, like, that bothers me. That I want to get rid of. So, yeah, man, long story short, it sucks.
And feel free to steal from the Army, but only what you need.
Exactly.
Well, this has been a lot of fun. Let's go ahead and get into the bonus episode. It's another Zoo Crew episode with me and Carrie Shocks and Joe Kasabian, talking about my favorite thing, propaganda, especially American propaganda because, like, in some ways we're insidiously good at it, and some ways we're incredibly inept. And we talk about one of the more recent inept ones where we tried to make them. The U.S. government tried to make a meme and then required 20 pages of memos to follow it up, and the meme didn't do well. But that's fine.
Sucked too. That's the funny thing. But
it made no fucking sense. Like it's a Russian bear with it's a bear in a Russian uniform with a trick or treat basket, but the treats are all named after different viruses
of malware, or something like that.
Yeah. Well, it's just it's one of those that, like, some good idea fairy somewhere had an idea and nobody was able to tell them to no because they're a fucking full bird kernel or something.
Yeah. Very deeply stupid.
That's how it goes.
But folks, please enjoy this preview. And if you are interested in hearing the whole thing, which I strongly recommend, there is a link in the show notes to the Patreon.
I don't understand the fucking point. Don't trust Russians?
Well, let's go through. Here, we're going to find out because we're going to go through the emails from the U.S. Cyber Command public.
Perfect.
No, to the U.S. The graphic ad hoc request from U.S. Cyber Command PA. So. Good morning, graphic team extraordinaire. Ooh, I fucking hate it when they started out like, oh, you guys are so great. It's like, you're going to ask me to do some dumb fucking shit. Like, that is, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong when somebody tries to boost you up in their opening fucking lines. So, requesting a quick turnaround on 3 graphics as described below. We are requesting the graphics no later than 2 days before the final request date so we can have time for commander review. Now, there's only 2 ones that they have listed here, but graphic concept. Cartoon bear in Soviet uniform costume holding Halloween candy basket with malware names such as Comrade, Duva Wellmess, X-Tunnel on the candy bars. Graphic 2. Graphic concept. Image of same bear in Soviet uniform costume holding the candy basket, now tripping with, quote, treats, end quote, parentheses, malware names, end parentheses, spilling out of the candy basket. So that's the email that was sent to the graphics team.
Graphic design is my passion.
So in like 2 minutes, you could do this entire thing with the like Vaclav's auto shop from the fucking Simpsons, and just have, like, you know, Vaclav trying to push Homer in the little car, and instead of saying put it in H, like put it in X tunnel. And it would have been just about as funny and probably would have gotten just as many views. Boom. Done. Nailed it.
So as they go on here, let's see. Upload 3. Okay, so they're talking about the malware names that they're going to put on there, all the different ones. And then, let's see, they request amplification from the Department of Homeland Security, FBI, NSA, UCOM, and State Department. So this is basically a memo version of going into, like, bugging somebody in the DMs. Be like, hey man, could you retweet this for me? I think it's really funny. None of them did, as evidenced by its very low numbers.
I mean, that leads me to believe that, like, Charlotte Clymer is somehow being paid by the government because they actually thought it was funny.
So, and here's the drafted tweets that come with this. So it's,
oh god, they have those listed too.
Oh yeah. So there's one where the graphic is just an angry looking pumpkin. So you guys have seen it, right? You know the thing we're talking about.
Yeah.
So it's a dark kind of forest. It's some coniferous trees behind. It's dark, and then, like, the U.S. Cyber Command logo is up in the top as the moon. So one of them is the bear that's tripping, and it's just like, oh, everything, all my candy's going, all my malware is going everywhere. And the other one is just like this angry looking pumpkin that just says Comrade on it for some reason. And so this was a tweet that was put out, and it just says to a picture of an angry pumpkin that says Comrade. So latest Comrade and malware sample uploaded to @CNMF _ cyber alert virus total page. These samples have been used to target victims in Eastern Europe and Central Asia. So I know that when you're crafting a tweet, it usually helps to put a picture on it to, like, be a little bit more eye catching, but this is really bad. I mean, it's just an angry looking pumpkin.
Yeah, I mean,
unfortunately, this whole thing costs like $10 billion.
Also, like, once again, like, who is it for? Like, you know what I mean? Like, who is this? What is this supposed to do? Who's supposed to care about it? Like, what is like I just that's like the part that gets me. Like, who's looking at this like weirdly animated like bear thing and like thinking like, oh man, that's gonna own the fuck out of Putin. Like he's gonna like be up late at night because of this shit.
Well, let me tell you who would be upset about this, because the idea was that they were going to be upset. They were going to make the Russians upset. So in November of 2020, a website called Cyberscoop picked it up with the headline, "How the Pentagon is Trolling Russian Chinese Hackers with Cartoons." So I want to read this one because it's not as silly as the Vice article, but the quotes in it are just so fucking hilarious that I just want to go through it. So there's little that Russian hackers hate more than being seen soft. So when U.S. military hackers saw a way to publicly portray them as bumbling and untethered in the recent weeks, they seized the moment. It all began when Cyber Command at the U.S. Department of Defense offensive cyber arm started working with a graphics company to illustrate foreign government hackers. The military realized it could punch up the reports it releases on foreign hacking operations by adding illustrations, and to try to embarrass or infuriate the foreign hacking shops along the way, one U.S. official told Cyberscoop. So, yes, we need to make our tweets look a little bit better, but also it's just like, I guess they're trying to start some shit. I'm upset that
what?
I guess
I'm
I'm so like I don't understand why.
So let's keep going. Maybe we'll get some understanding here.
it's also just like they've brought all the incisive wit of like, you know, fucking Yogi the Bear cartoon.
It's pretty much it is.
Right.
It would have been better if they had put Yogi Bear in that, but then the Hanna-Barbera company would sue them. So,
but like I don't know, like put like fucking cut out like Stalin's head and put on like Yogi Bear's body, and it would have been funnier. Like that's like, you know, and you wouldn't have to like spend the time to like, you know, get your fucking graphic approved. Like,
so
fuck.
in one case, when Cyber Command started making plans to expose some state-sponsored espionage operations tied to Russia's Federal Security Service, the FSB, the country's KGB successor, they turned to the graphics company to develop images that would goad the Russians, the official said. Quote, "Russia hates to be seen as cuddly or cozy, so we wanted to tick them off," end quote, says the official, who is not authorized to speak with the press. Yeah, probably because you're saying some really fucking stupid shit, man.
also just like, I don't know, like once again, like
They hate being seen as cuddly.
yeah, like, oh, like Russians hate being seen as cuddly. Like this is almost like, you know what? Oh, I don't know, Russia. What would you say your biggest flaw is? I don't know. I guess I work too hard.
So, yeah, they say the best way to do that, the military hackers decided, was to represent the FSB hackers as an endearing, if bumbling, bear. The cybersecurity community has long used names with references to bears to identify Russian hacking outfits, such as Cozy Bear and Fancy Bear, the hacking groups behind the 2016 breach of the Democratic National Committee. So our biggest offensive weapon is just be like, you broke into our shit? Yeah, well, you guys are real soft and cuddly, aren't you?
Like, okay. Like,
we don't quote, "We don't want something they can put on t-shirts," the U.S. official said. "We want something that's in a PowerPoint their boss sees and he loses his shit on them."
But it's like, it's a fucking cartoon. It's literally the sort of shit that people put on t-shirts.
I would absolutely put this on a t-shirt, honestly.
We should put this on a t-shirt. You want to put this on a t-shirt?
Joe,
Let's put this on a
put
t-shirt.
this on a t-shirt.
Joe, put this on a t-shirt.
We're gonna get sued by Cyber Command. They're gonna just be like,
Oh, that makes
what
it even funnier, and we can tag them in it.
yeah, we're gonna steal it from them, and they're just gonna like give us, you know, they're gonna badly give us like Barack O'Bumbler names or something. Lions led
Or
by
like,
Lions led by Dookies, more like it.
Oh, owned. No, do it. It'll be funny. Like, I'll represent you pro bono if you get sued by the Pentagon, just because it'll be funny. Like, I want to write a response letter when they send you a demand to take it down.
So, but they, you know, further on, there's a whole lot to this. But further on down, they do say if Cyber Command is trying to send a message, the adversary is trivial. The adversary is laughing on his way to the bank because the cyber operations are still remarkably successful, said Bauer, who now works at Cognitive Security Collaborative. what real consequence is there to China and Russia from doing this? Compared to the value of our adversaries are getting from these cyber operations, they're just going to look at it as the cost of doing business. But, even if the graphics don't irk the foreign hackers, Cyber Command hopes that they may prompt antivirus companies to pay more attention to the command's malware warnings, U.S. official said. Quote, it increases engagement with the community, which gets more attention on the malware, so worse for the actors, wins all around, the official said. The community here is having fun with it. So that drives engagement on the stuff we want caught and theoretically improves detection. 160 retweets. I have posted a pig pooping on its own balls that's done better than that tweet. So not so much, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at like some of the dumb shit that I'd ever posted, like, in like the last couple of weeks, and like, I don't know, just like a bunch of screenshots of like someone acting like an asshole, like gets more retweets than like any of this shit.
I think we have all posted pictures with the caption, me and the boys when we get the COVID-19 vaccine, that have done better than this. All right, everybody, you can follow me at Army Strang, follow Nate in these deserts, follow the podcast at Hell of a Way. Thank you for listening, supporting in whatever way you do, and we'll talk to you next week.
Yep, take care.